Now we move toward the health policy process in China and the CAS. This is the health structure in China. We talk about healthcare structure. We on the left side is the storewood part, the government regulation, financing, monitoring things, and in the middle that's also government, but it's government ministry. It's specific government ministry health, Ministry of Health. Now we say Ministry of Health, Commission of Health and Family Planning. We have the other part is delivery hospitals, and we should have pharmaceuticals that's outside this market driven. But this is already seen the level. We just want to show, and the level have the national, provincial, municipal, and county, township, and down to the community. This is the we generally describe as the structure of our healthcare. We talk about this is the part is the fun part, very fun. It's the policy implementation process. When you design something in China, it's not specific. We say we have a loosely defined general guidelines. You look at all the state councils, governments guidelines for what. So this is kind of your guideline. You can be experimented and scaled up for national policy. This will give a guideline, and local people or a different ministry will explain it. For example, we talk about new normal. Is new normal? What is new normal? People in the beginning, is the concept itself is changing. People have different understanding of what new normal. So it's normally we have a guideline, promotion for philanthropy, we say regulation, and then people started to really make the guideline into some specific policies, and then they can be evaluated, can be scaled up. So their policy implementation in China takes the two crucial dimensions. One is the policy conflict. Many things they are in conflict with other policies. You have to solve it. The other thing is not very clear is ambiguity. That means is how you really take the advantage of trying to have the low conflict and focus on reducing the ambiguity. I never be able to pronounce it, but I'm trying to do it through policy learning. It's really, it's tell you the truth is, for example, when we implement the rural social assistance, local people didn't know how to define the poverty line or social assistance line. They learn from each other. If my county is richer, then my neighbor is defined 100 RMB, I will have 110. If I'm poor, I have a 90. So that's sort of learning. If the neighbor set up a development industrial park, I will do an industrial park. So that make the policy kind of in this process, learning process, we know how to design it. In NCMS, lots of people, local people, they don't know the risk of their population, the financing mechanism. They just learn from the general guidance. That's the way, and then they group learning sessions. They borrow all those parameters to their own county, make a little bit of modification to see next year whether or not they can achieve balance and achieve coverage. So this is something uh, the process very unique. We have such a big country. We have a very different local context. So rapid changing context will add more uncertainty to any policy process. The local conditions and agents' behavior are crucial for this one. So we say experimental point and point to service，我们叫试点和以点到面。And implementation policy according with local conditions，因制宜。Create policy learning process. So we have a guideline and then we implement to each community or each locality. And the other thing is about, we are all, the policies are really ministry-based policy formation as we show the chart, decision making and implementation. So you have to obtain enough resource, the bargaining process with relevant ministries or agents with resource and powers determine policy outcomes. Why? Ministry of Health has to work with Ministry of Finance to get the budget, how much allocated. And now the insurance, we have to work with Ministry of Human Resource and Social Security. So it's a bargaining process. And if they want to build more hospitals, they have to work with the National Development and Reform Commission. In this process, they obtain resource and also being, controlled by other ministries. So it's that creates three problems. One problem is in this process of multi-agency negotiation, the initial goal might be compromised because the other ministries have different perception. You have to change it, constantly monitoring. And right now we are doing the smoke-free law. We have different ministries. They have different opinions. We have to change some of the articles. The other thing, one is mandate ministry, who is leading the implementation. The ministry itself has its own objectives, we say self-interest, ministry interest. And in implementation, each locality has its own interest. So this is a complicated process. This process is very unique in China, maybe in other countries, which I haven't learned much. And also local conditions vary significantly in China, and translating with a generally agreed policy design framework to the real world is a big challenge. Your guideline, how you translate, developing free purchase of service from the nonprofit. And if you go to Shanghai, Shanghai has lots of money. But if you go to a poor area, they don't have the finance or the money to purchase service. So each locality has different unique situation. So the experimental approach with implementation in accordance to local conditions serves two purposes. One is to give the local government the power to design policy parameters within the general guidelines. For example, the rural pension in in some of the middle provinces is only 60 RMB, but in the rich provinces that can be 1,000. So the general guideline, you provide pension, universal coverage, but the details, how much you provide, it depends on local conditions. To test the policy under different conditions with different behaviors and through the learning process, reduce ambiguity. That means sometimes you don't know what's the result, but you have to test it. So we always start from the experiment with a 试点. This is the way of implementation. For China's health policy, taking advantage of the ministry-based policy making and implementation process and combine administrative and experimental implementations with a learning mechanism can be a good approach to ensure the process. We show the chart of this way. You see, this is a really hierarchical system. So you can do the implementation and with the management of the system. So when you look at for how the system develops, you look at the different players in a national level. This is one way to do it. And then the national level will be translated into a ministry level. That's another players. And then when it's implemented, you involve with the local players, local government. And then when you go to the relevant hospitals, providers, financing, you involve another level. So this is quite a complex system. You think no matter which way you approach it, is complex. However, the thing is, when you design a goal, it's a general loose defined guidelines. Sometimes the goals are not very clear. We say the general things, and they become more specific. But in this process, we know so many players, so many agents, and they interact, they change, they modify the goals, and become such a big oftentimes can be a mess, but oftentimes we had seen in the past a success. This is how CAS, we want to use the CAS to examine this whole implementation process based on case study on the rural health system. And also we want to use this to another very interesting case on the mental health policy process. I hope by looking this tool approach, it's a very complicated, we can offer some, success stories and lessons for other large system transformation, development transformation, and for other countries. And also we will build on our initial discussion on how the local lower level agent behavior trigger the whole change, and how you look at from health policy system perspective, introducing one policy, how you evaluate the goals of the policy, whether they achieve it. Those are the few cases. In the next session, we're going to discuss more. So I want to give an overview of this course. This course is really trying to apply a new mental model or a new metaphor or new theory called complex adaptive system, in using that model to analyze health policy process and development. So we started by saying what is a system, by saying what is complex adaptive system with the key features, and to see how health system really in corresponding to is really a case, and how we, based on that kind of understanding, using CAS as a tool to analyze China's health system. This is the course, I think, the flow of the logic, and we're finishing this session's class. Thank you for coming, to this session. Okay. And